Ciao a tutti! Welcome back to our channel where we make Italian fun and easy. Today we're going to talk about one of the most important and sometimes very confusing verb. And this is piacere. Now, piacere means to like, but it has a different structure from English. So in today's lesson, we are going to look at some grammar, but also I'm going to give you some tips to make this verb easier for you. Now, at the end of the video, I'll also tell you all about our free PDF, which is a guide to piacere and also includes lots of practice exercises. But let's start from the very beginning. What does piacere mean? Now, piacere means to like. So in the case of pizza, I can say mi piace la pizza. From this sentence, you can already notice that there is a different structure. Mi piace la pizza. It's a structure that is actually similar to this English one. Pizza pleases me. As you can see, pizza is the subject of this sentence. And in fact, pizza in the Italian sentence is the subject. As you can see here, pizza pleases me, that is the English sentence with pizza as the subject. If you imagine that pizza as a subject is taking a different position, so as a position after the verb, but in fact is the subject of the Italian sentence as well. This structure can be confusing because the usual basic Italian structure is actually very similar to the English one. For example, in the sentence Io telefono a Carlo, I phone Carlo, of course, you have the usual structure that starts with a subject, io, and then is followed by the verb, telefono, and then an indirect object in this case. However, in the example of with piacere, the subject and indirect object have taken each other's position. So the indirect object comes first, then you have the verb, and then la pizza is the subject. And that is why the position has been of subject and indirect object has been swapped. Now that we have seen that the actual subject of the sentence is la pizza, it will be so much easier to understand the form of the verb. And let's have a look at that. So when you use the verb piacere to say I like something, you will see only two versions of the verb. And you will only use the third person singular, piace, and the third person plural, piacciono. So here is the verb piacere. Io piaccio, tu piaci, lui, lei, esso. Esso means it, piace. Noi piacciamo, voi piacete, loro piacciono. Okay, so why do we use these two? Because, in fact, is the pizza. Pizza piace. La pizza piace a me. So that's why when you are talking about an item such as pizza, you use the third person singular. Now, if instead you're talking about something plural, like I cioccolatini, chocolates, or le pizze, pizzas, then you have to use the third plural, which is piacciono. And this is, of course, because la pizza is the subject of this sentence, and le pizze is also the subject, and therefore you have to change the verb. So let's say that we are going back to the English sentence, pizza pleases me. You can see pizza pleases me. Pleases is the third person. If you say pizzas, the pizzas please me, you can see that the verb has changed in the third plural version. Do you find all of this grammar a little bit difficult to understand? Don't worry, because I have a very quick and simple rule for you. So let's have a look at this. In fact, the only thing you need to know is this. When you use mi piace using piace, what follows has to be a singular noun. So if you're talking about la pizza, then you say mi piace la pizza. When you're talking about something plural, then you will use mi piacciono le pizze. So mi piace is always followed by a singular noun and mi piacciono always by a plural noun. How about a little practice? Let's practice together. Okay, so here you have to choose between piace and piacciono. Il caffè. Il caffè is singular and therefore you have to use piace. Mi piace il caffè. Let's have a look at this one. I film italiani. Mi piacciono i film italiani because i film is plural. I cani. That's right. Piacciono. Mi piacciono i cani. How about this last one? Il gelato. That's right. That is a singular noun and therefore you use me. Let's say that instead of using a noun, singular or plural, you use a verb. For example, leggere. Leggere means to read. Here you also use the version piace. Mi piace leggere. Great. Still alive so far? I hope so. Now, we have one last tiny little grammar item to complete this lesson. So bear with me. So let's go back to our sentence. Mi piace la pasta. So who is this me? When we talk about me, who are we referring to? Of course, that is I. So I like pasta. So let's have a look at this second sentence. Ti piace la pasta. So now, who is ti? That's right. That will be tu. In other words, you singular. And these are called pronomi indiretti. Okay, so here are your pronouns. So in the case of when I talk about myself, of course, I will say mi piace. If I talk about you, I'll say ti piace. But how about if I'm talking about Giulio? So a third person, I'm talking about he. The pronoun will be gli. Careful with this pronunciation is gli. Gli piace. And that is only for a male person. So per lei, we say le piace. If it is us, then in that case is ci piace. If it is you plural, is vi piace. And if it is they, will be gli. So great, we've come to the end of this lesson. Well done. This lesson also comes with a free PDF, which you can download in description. It includes a full guide on the verb piacere, includes loads of practice exercises, and includes answer key. But even more verbs with a similar structure. So there is loads still to learn. Of course, as always, you'll find the link in the description. In the meantime, don't forget to subscribe and I'll see you in the next video. Ciao!